Hey, this is Hans from Dakota Angler and Outfitter, and we're tying some bone fishing flies lately. And right now I'm going to do a little crab pattern, kind of a riff on a fly I saw in Dick Brown's book on bonefish fly patterns. Got a saltwater hook in the vise, size 6. This is a mustad, but you could use a Daiichi or a Gamakatsu. It's just what I happen to have in front of me here today. But I'm going to lay down a thread coat. First thing I did there was I laid down some Zap-A-Gap or super glue. You could even just use regular head cement. And it just helps when you wrap the thread over that to get a good grip. Really sets your thread up to stick to that kind of slippery surface of the hook shank. Up near the eye, leaving a little room for a head later on, I'm going to tie in some small lead eyes. You could also use bead chain if you didn't want as heavy a fly. Tie those in with some figure 8 wraps. Kind of secure around the base as well. And then we're going to take our thread to the back of the hook. Tie in some gold colored Estaz. It's kind of more like a tan color, but they call it gold. And then we're going to tie in some natural round rubber. Just a little distance back from that tie-in point. Just give yourself a little more than a 1/16 of an inch. We're going to tie that in kind of figure 8 style. That's about a 2.5 inch piece maybe. I might end up trimming that down. Pull that a little bit so it's kind of centered. Okay. I'm going to advance my thread forward a tiny bit, tie in another rubber leg about the same length. Same way, figure 8. Set that so that it's equal lengths on either side of the hook. Do that one more time. Little ways. Now I need to back that up. I need to give myself just a tiny gap between that eye, dumbbell eye, and the leg. Okay. Cool out the length there a little bit. There we go. Finish figure 8ing that in. Alright. Now, I'd bring my thread back in front of the dumbbells. And this is kind of the tricky part. We're going to wrap our Estaz in between those legs, but I'll show you a little trick here. Take one leg, or the rear set of legs, fold them back, wrap them down with one wrap of thread. You can really even do 2, and that kind of prevents them from slipping out. Do that same thing with the next set of legs. And last but not least, the front set of legs. Okay, so now we can start wrapping our Estaz. And when I wrap Estaz or anything like it, what I like to do is to keep the bulk of the fibers from getting trapped down, just kind of use your finger to kind of stroke back the fibers before you put in another wrap. So I'm going to wrap nice tight wraps right up to the back of that clump, first clump of legs. I'm going to use my bobbin, undo the wraps that are holding down that first clump, fold those forward, sneak in my Estaz wraps in between it. work up to that next set of legs. Unwrap the thread at the bobbin. Same thing. Try not to mangle your legs. There we go. Work up to that next set. Undo those. Same thing. Wrap in front. Now I'm at the dumbbell eyes. And you can just figure eight over the top of those dumbbell eyes. And then tie off in front. And make sure your legs made it out unscathed, and then we'll trim off our excess Estaz. Oops. Okay. Clean that up a little bit, fold everything back and clean up that eye a little bit. Next, we will flip the hook over and clean that up just a tiny bit more. And next, we're going to take a clump of stacked deer hair. This isn't a huge clump of hair. But we're going to make a little wing over the top of the fly with it. What I'm going to do is I'm going to measure it to length and then trim it. And then tie it in to form a nice little neat head. But I want that to just kind of cover up the hook points, almost acting like a little weed guard. But also kind of gives a nice bugginess to this pattern. Makes it look like a real little critter there that's hanging out on the bottom of the flat. Clean up some of that tie-in point just a little bit. Now, measure this one more time. So I want that about right there over the hook point. And then we will kind of pre-trim our deer hair. There we go. Once that's trimmed, I'm just going to lay that down, catch it with a couple loose wraps, tighten it up, and I'm just going to whip finish right on top. Just a nice 3-turn. Oops. Take that back and start it again there. 1, 2, 3. Okay. Trim off my thread. What you get from the top view, get all the legs kind of tweaked into place here. There's a cool little crab pattern. Kind of like a hybrid between a tourniquet crab and a, I don't know, kind of a little merkin-ish type crab. But I don't usually stop right there. I think it probably would fish pretty well there. But what I like to do is dress up those legs a little bit with some markers, and I'll show you how to do that. I'm also just gonna trim out a few of the fibers on the bottom, so that sits a little bit more on the bottom, flush to the bottom, and then we'll grab a couple markers here. What I do is usually kind of grab and stretch each leg, and towards the end of the leg I'll put on a nice red band. stretch it and draw your bands. Do the same thing on the other side of the hook. And then I do red, and I usually put in a brown bar as well. Kind of split the difference between the body and the red band. It gives you some nice contrast on those legs. And there you got a cool little crab pattern that's kind of part turnipy crab, part buggy little sea critter. I don't know what it really looks like to him, but I kind of like the look of the fly. I can't remember the name of the fly that was in Dick Brown's book, but it's a cool little crab pattern, and actually had good luck with it on Long Island last year, so I'm tying up some more for this year with some different colors to match different bottom colors, either kind of like a tan coloration like this or an olive body. And if you're headed bonefishing, maybe tie some up for yourself and give them a try. Thanks for watching, and we'll have more videos on bonefish flies and lots of other flies out soon.